Druid fans, I'm back. Season 9, Shredtify, we're here. I'm going to go over all the new changes, the new multipliers we got, new legendaries, the pros and cons of the Petrify build, just to see how far we can push it. Enjoy. So, new changes we've got. So this season, Toxic Claw's got a big change. We got a 15% multi on poison damage, and this is doubled while in werewolf, so it's giving us a 30% multiple. And this is going to work hand in hand with our new Grizzly Rabid Bear, which is going to turn all our physical damage into poison damage. This is just going to give us a huge multiplier that we previously didn't have, which is going to be great. Outside of that, the builds from previous seasons is pretty similar, only we're going to be now using Grizzly, although we'll still be using Petrify for the rune combo as we did in the previous seasons. So yeah, if you haven't played this build before, it's a shred build. Most of the build is going around the Yom rune, which we are going to use with Tam. This is going to make Petrify go off all the time, in combination with Arida's Inexorable Will. So every time we cast an ultimate, everything gets pulled in. And we're going to be using this with the rune, so we constantly just have everything being pulled in. One of the main pros of Shred is it just has a massive AoE in front of it, but you have to do a lot of jumping around. This just brings everything right into the front, and it also just stuns everything at the same time, so we just get this massive cleave going. And it also works well with Agile Wolf, which, as everyone knows, has a problem being bugged all the time, but if everything gets pulled into us and we're standing still, we're going to be doing big damn. And that's what we're here for. Easy damage. Outside of that, the other pros of using this build is that we get a massive CD reduction on the ultimate. This makes it really nice when we're going to use Grizzly Rage, mainly because the cooldown can be pretty tight. But as you can see, like, I've got a cooldown of 21 seconds, and this is up for 18.5 seconds. So on a boss, we really only have to overpower once, just have 100% uptime on this. And the other one is, like, if you do die, it just makes it a lot easier to have the cooldown come back up instead of waiting around for 40 seconds sometimes if you do die, which could be a bit of a pain on, like, boss fights. So the last thing, I want to mention is you can see from the damage of Inexorable's Will, it does nearly over 1 billion damage on the hits. So for Infernal Hordes, you can just clear most of the trash just by getting it to proc off by itself. And this just makes it a lot easier for clearing out everything. You can use the Cry Rune, or you can just use it to pull everything in. In like pit runs, it's really good to pull everything in. But for doing tier 4 content, this will just kill it by itself, which is really handy. Okay, so for the builds, the Helm, Air Perdition, Masterworking's not great on this, but you would really want to get core skills and crit. You want to make sure you are completely crit capped. Things to take into consideration is just to make sure that you add on your Predatory Instinct, along with Werewolf Tempers, which I'll get into, as you can see here, the Werewolf Critical Strike. So yeah, I was running Air Perdition. Before this, Crown of Lucion is a great piece of item to use before you get Air Perdition, which, you know, can be quite a bit of a challenge to get, as it is a mythic unique. But Crown of Lucion gives you cooldown reduction and gives you max life, along with the multiplier, which you need just for the damage alone. But the max life is really helpful. Mad Wolf's Glee. This is just great all round, being a werewolf, and you would probably want to replace this with Shroud, but I haven't been able to get that yet. As you can see for the runes, we've got the Petrify room here with Tam, and again for Masterworking, you'd probably want to max out attack speed as much as you can. Max life is good because we're still struggling with more max life. Sorry, I should have just gone over the other rune, the other Moni and Zan. So Zan's just going to give us a lot of just a massive damage increase. Before I had this rune, I could really tell by going up maybe about like 5 pit levels, maybe even 10 from just getting the Zan rune, because we can get it so quickly with the Moni amp up that we just have constant crit and overpowers. For the gloves, ranks to shred, preferable, and otherwise attack speed and crit. For the tempers, I've gone fortified generation and crit damage. With the crit damage, you could go werewolf attack speed, but this is what I started with, and so I've just left it for now. But I might come back to this, just depending on how far I can push it in the pit. For the ancestral, shred does more damage with up to a 75% multi and a 33% chance to land an additional 4 times. That's just huge for the builds. For the pants, make sure you get the temper for total armor. Having the other armor sets having hardly any armor, we need to make sure we get armor caps, so this is really important. And for the aspects, Grizzly Rage is now a werewolf skill, and this is going to be what our main build is around. For the boots, we're getting Agile Wolf. Now this can be a bit buggy. I say some builds not use it, but just see how you go. The main reason that I was using it with Aridas is that everything gets pulled in, so it doesn't really matter if you kind of get stuck, because you'll just be sitting there and you'll smash everything. For the dagger, make sure you get the temper for shred to deal double damage. And I need to come back and masterwork this just to get as many hits as I can on shred to deal double damage. And for the aspects, we've gone with Storm Claws, so shred just does mass AoE and lightning damage in front. For the offhand, you can ignore the gem, but I would get crit damage. It's just all I had. I have been too lazy to change it. But for the aspects, the duration of Grizzly is increased by 8.5 seconds. In addition, we get a massive damage increase with our critical strike damage increasing from 5% all the way up to 100%. Again, for the tempers, make sure you get damage for shred to deal double damage. And then I've gone werewolf attack speed here. Good thing to note is you can get crit on the totem, which we will probably need in general. The next aspect on the ring is Unsatiated. This is just really helpful for spirit issues. You will have a bit of spirit issues on this build. You can do some changes with the spirit boons, but this will just give you a much easier chance to play. For the tempers, I've gone Werewolf Critical Strike and the Grizzly Rage cooldown. The Werewolf Critical Strike is pretty needed. The reason why I haven't got this on the other items is because once you get Air of Perdition, you'll get a massive amount of crit. And if you go Werewolf Crit all around, you'll be over the cap. So I think you only need 2 items to have Werewolf Critical Strike, just to make sure that you've got that. Otherwise, attack speed is important, and then willpower. Aridas, so this is important specifically just for this build, mainly just so we can pull everything in, and we do a massive amount of damage for just clearing trash. And also the ultimate cooldown reduction. And on my amulet, you would want to get Envenom and Toxic Claws if you can. And for the tempers, I've got the Critical Strike. But later on for pit pushing, I would probably change it to Petrify. Oh, sorry, not to Petrify, to Grizzly Rage cooldown. But only if you're really interested in pit pushing. Otherwise, you can just leave it for fortified generation. So quickly for the spirit boons, taking wariness just for the damage reduction. Early on, you can get Gift of the Stag while you're leveling, and also while you're just going through and you have mana issues. It's a pretty good alternative. For the Eagle, this one I would definitely get the 2 and get max life and get the critical damage. Early on, if you're in like tier 1, tier 2, maybe even tier 3, then I'd get the attack speed over the critical strike damage depending on your gear, but max life still pretty important here. For the Wolf, I've gone Bolster just for the DPS increase. Again, Energize is good early on while you're leveling, just to get mana. I would definitely take that. And if you're doing later pit pushing, and you can go into Calamity if you need the, if you don't have like the uptime on Grizzly Rage. Otherwise, I would definitely keep Bolster. And lastly, Masochistic? Did I say that right? I'm not actually sure. Let me know if I said it wrong. Probably did. But it's just really good because we just want to constantly get healed and we're constantly face tanking. Okay, for the abilities, quickly want to get 1 point into Maul and then Enhance Maul just for the Fortify, but I mean, really doesn't matter that much. 1 point in Heart of the Wild so we can max out Wild Impulses, just so we can get the multi here on the core skills. 3 points to Predatory Instinct for the crit chance, and as much Digitigrade as we can get. Digitigrade Gate as we can get. Ranks for Shred, obviously maxed out, and Enhanced Shred, and lastly Primal Shred for the multi. In defensives, I've maxed out Cyclone Armor, mainly because once we're in Grizzly Rage, we can't have any other spells that aren't werewolf spells. So just having the passive here is just really important for just damage reduction. Backlash, just for the damage multiplier, and Ancestral Fortitude and Vigilance just for damage reduction. 1 point into Bloodhowl, just so we can get innate Bloodhowl for the 25% multi. 3 into Feral Aptitude, again for another multiplier. 2 into Nature's Reach, only because I had 2 points left over, just for the additional 10% multi if they are crowd controlled, but we don't get the initial 10% because it'll be in range. 1 point into Rabies, mainly because we just have the points and we can use it while we're in Werewolf. Max out Toxic Claws, this is going to be our new big multiplier buff, and as many points you can get in Envenom. 1 point into Neurotoxin, just so we have the crowd control on the slow. 3 into Defensive Posture. 3 into Quick Shift. 3 into Heightened Senses. Max out Grizzly Rage. And get the 2 add-ons along with Catastrophe. Make sure we get 3 points into there. And lastly, Bestial Rampage. I have done some testing with Lupine Ferocity. It's not a bad alternative, but I would make sure until you're crit capped, you would move over to this. It's not a bad alternative. Okay, for the Paragon. First board, I've gone into Headhunter. Until you level this up, you might need to get more points into Willpower down here, but you should be able to figure that out yourselves. The first board, we've gone into Lust for Carnage, just so we can get the damage multiplier, and then we've gone into Keeper. So this is doing our non-physical damage, which is where from the codex that all our damage is converted into poison damage. So now it's a non-physical damage type. This is going to buff that. Later on, you can get these extra points for extra damage and werewolf damage, but for now, running a pretty tight ship on points. Only at 187. So this is what I've got for now. Along with later, I would probably, my next move is coming down here to get this extra attack speed, so keep note of that. On the build guide I put in the video, I have taken these points, but yeah, just use your head of where you need to put your points depending on where you're at. The next board, Ancestral Guidance. This is just for the multiplier again and the damage. The damage and the mana we're getting back. And the Glyph is Spirit for maxing out crit damage. Again, yeah, this board's just great for core damage. Hopefully once I get Shroud, then I can get the extra points here into the core damage. Okay, next board, Hide and Malice. Again, this is just for extra damage, massive multiplier, and the glyph Fang and Claw for another multiplier for close damage. Again, take these extra points when you have the space, but these are really good because they're amped up from the glyph. The last board is Inner Beast. I haven't even got this legendary node. You don't really need to get it. It's a bit of a crappy board, to be honest. But the main reason we got this board is so we can get the attack speed and also just the shape-shifting bonuses. But yeah, I really need to get my Shroud of False Death so I can get these extra bonuses going. And the last glyph is Dominate. If you don't have the Zan rune, you could probably run the physical damage outmatch until you get that. Otherwise, you could run Electrocution, but you'll have to change up your skill tree to get the points for doing the random lightning bolt. And then lastly, just getting these max lives as much as you can. I have a few more that I'll need to get later on over here, but yeah, max life is pretty important because we're kind of a bit squishy. Mercenaries, I basically just gone right here just for the 15% all resist. If you have a lot of resist for depending on your gear, then maybe you need to get the armor, and then I'd probably go down to Mocking Lure for the DPS increase here, but I've just gone here for the other 15% multi. I've got Varian at the moment, but I'm just leveling her up. So depending on where you are, like you might want to get Subo if you're like in tier 1 onwards. I would probably get Subo at the start just for the map hacks. But otherwise, yeah, get Rahir later, mainly for the resist. So that's basically it. Here's my current stats, but I'm still just working on the build. Definitely got to get some gem improvements. Definitely for the seasonal stuff, I have to get some better gems going. I'll quickly show you that I've just got the barrier, I've got the extra crit, and I've got the crowd control, but this is basically all I've got available. For the heraldic spells, obviously we're getting the poison, running Celestial Surge, Floaty Bobble, Potent Alloy. I'm still kind of just testing this out, and Volatile Crystal. This is good just because I need the resist cap. This I just think is really helpful in doing the pit. If you're just like constantly doing the pit and those enemies, the elites have the barriers, it's really nice. And Floaty Bobble, I'm testing this out, but so far it seems really fun, especially with Shred. But let me know below if you guys have any better suggestions or how you're going with the seasonal stuff. Otherwise, yeah, I'll see how far we can push Shredtify. Alright guys, that's it for me. Enjoy.